So we want to conclude the concept under our trigonometry. So like I ended up on that question. So how can you answer such a question there? Remember they told you that it is given that triangle PQR. So that is PQR is a right angled at R. So you have a right angle there 90 degrees. Then QR 4 centimeters. And they tell you that tan, QPR is 4/5. Now if you remember tan, like I said, tan is simply, if you look at your tan, it is simply the opposite over the adjacent, meaning that 4 is for the opposite and the 3 is for the adjacent. So since I'm looking at this angle, the opposite is this one and the adjacent will be that one. So meaning the adjacent is a 3, so we replace it with a 3. But remember, we were not given this one. You can use your Pythagoras theorem because it's a right angle triangle. Can I call it x? Meaning to get the longest side, the hypotenuse squared would be equal to the sum of the other side, which is 3 squared plus 4 squared. So it will be x squared is equal to 9 plus 4 squared is a 16. So x squared is equal to 9 plus 16 will give you a 25. How do I find x? I need to introduce a square root. What I do this side, I'll do it the other side. So meaning x is equal to 5. Like I said, the value that you are going to have for PQ is actually 5. Now the question there is simply saying that you find sine PQR. So how do I find sine PQR? So I'm looking at this angle here. So where this angle is pointing, that would be the opposite, and this one would be the adjacent. I'm using black, and that is the hypotenuse. Remember, sine is the opposite over the hypotenuse. So therefore, it would be equal to the opposite, which is PR, over, the hypotenuse, which is PQ. So therefore, sine PQR will be equal to, what is my PR? It is representing 3 over my PQ. It is simply representing 5. So sine PQR is equal to 3 over 5. And that's the answer that they wanted to ask. Well, a lot of people have actually been asking, how can you plot graphs of, for example, of sine and cosine? For example, they tell you to say, sketch the graph. Sketch the graph of y is equal to sine, theta for 0 degrees is less or equal to, theta, and theta should be less or equal to 360 degrees. So you are going to be finding such questions in your paper 2. They are going to be coming, so how can you go about them? Well, that is very simple. You can easily, go about such a question. That is very simple. So what you need to do, in order to plot the graph of, sine of that angle theta, what you just need to do is you can create a table. That's the idea. So you can create a table. Let me just do that. So you can create a table indicating the values of, so we create a table. And when we create a table, nicely, even in the exam, you can draw that. So there we can have, theta, then there we can actually have sine theta. So this one, there's no problem. You are going to be using a calculator. So if you have a calculator, please, you can just go with me so that you are able to see how you can go about that. So now, since we are plotting y is equal to sine theta, so this sine theta is more like representing the value of y, and that one is more like representing the value of x. So for angles, you can pick up angles like 0 degrees, in terms of 90, in intervals of 90, you can pick up maybe 180 degrees, you can pick up another one 270, then eventually 360. This can help you to plot, such a graph. So in intervals of 90. So you can use your calculator and say, okay, so you start replacing now. What is sine 0? It is going to give you a 0 there. And what is sine 90? That is going to give you a 1 there. What is sine 180? That is going to give you a 0 there. Right? And what is sine 270? That is going to give you a -1. And what is sine 360 degrees? That will give you a 0. So now with that in mind, once you have that, you can do, remember it's a sketch, it's not something that is accurate. So what you do, you can come up with something that looks like this. So what we are going to do there is very simple. My highest, you can see in the y-axis, is simply 1. So I can go up 1 and down 1. A 0 there, 1, -1. Angles in intervals again, 0, 90, 180. You space them out evenly, 270, and that is 360 degrees. So those are angles in degrees. So what do you need to do there? It's very simple. You plot 0, 0, 0, you are going to have a point there. Then 90, 1, so 90, 1, to remember where they are meeting, there will be a point there. And then 180, 0 is the point here. Then 270, -1 down here, so where they are meeting, that's the point, and 360, 0. So your graph, it should look a smooth curve there, passes through that point, makes a curve, and that's the one. So that's the graph, and you label it y is equal to sine theta. So basically that is the way you can go about it. Let me conclude and show you on how you can sketch the cosine graph there, how you can sketch it. So you can also use the same when they tell you to say, these are questions that have come before, so sketch the graph, of y is equal to cos theta, for angles between 0 is less or equal to theta and less or equal to 360 degrees. So like I said, you can also do the same, there's no problem. So you can actually get to do the same. So we can put up a table of values there representing the values of x and y as it were, but in actual sense it's the angle, and this time we are going to have cos theta. But remember, this is x and that is representing y. 0, you can degrees, you can go to 90 degrees, you can go to 180 degrees, you can go to 270 degrees, and you can go to 360 degrees. So you just find the corresponding values of y by replacing the angles in that. So cos 0, that will give you 1, and cos 90, that is going to give you a 0. Then cos 180, that will give you a -1. Then again cos 270, that is going to give you a 0. Then cos 360, that will give you a 1. So that is what you do. So now using these values, now what you can do using the values that we have there, you can simply plot a graph, which is just a sketch. It's not something that is going to be as accurate as you may assume it to be. So I can say that is y, and if you want, this is representing cos theta, and on the x-axis there, that is representing just your angles. So 0, again the highest is 1 and the lowest is -1, so I can have 0, I can have 90, 180, space them evenly, 270, and 360 degrees. Then what do you do next? You try to plot the points out. So it will be 0, 1. So 0, 1 will be that point there. That's the point that I'm going to have. Then 90, 0 will be a point here. Then 180, -1 will be a point down here. And 270, 0 will be a point here. Then 360, 1 is going to be a point there where they meet. So that's the point. So you join them. So in this case, when you join them, the graph will look something like this. So this is the way it's supposed to come out. And this graph there is y is equal to, cos theta. So that's the way you can go about it. In case, please, you can practice. You can also do it on a graph paper, but in the exam, they'll always just ask you to give them a sketch. And this is a sketch that you can give them. Thank you so much for watching. If you like my videos, please, you can press that, like button and also subscribe so that you may receive notification if I produce a new video. Thank you so much for watching. You can also watch out my other series for physics, chemistry, and also biology.